Hey, welcome back to the Real Impact Show. I am one of your co-hosts, Aaron Zapata.
And I am Don Jacks. Nice to be with you today, everybody. Let's talk real estate.
Yeah, before we hopped on here to record this, Don and I were just kind of talking about what's going on in the market, kind of where we're feeling, like what are we feeling right now? I've got a lot of transactions going on. I'm a broker, I'm an active agent as well, and I have about five or six in escrow. We've got buyers, got sellers that are in preparation time. It's a crazy time right now. And so we're talking about the market and what we see here in Southern California. Uh, Don is a coach, of course, and so he's got some insights from what he's working on with other teams. And so we just thought we would just kind of talk about this time of the year. Heading into May, every year kind of has the same angst in the market right now. Would you agree, Don?
I would, and I think that's going to be kind of interesting for many people to hear because it's not the interest rates, it's not the NAR settlement, it's not all the stuff that's causing all the tension around right now. This happens every year, and it does in many markets to to some extent. It happens every year this time.
Yeah. And if you're looking at like a roller coaster, which we feel like we're on right now, the the roller coaster has that incline where everything's going up, tick, 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 and then it comes to the plateau. You know, uh, most roller coasters end up with a tumble right after the plateau, but just think of a plateau where it goes straight. And we've just come out of really 6 weeks of pretty intense market conditions. Very few sellers, lots of buyers, lots of competing offers. And I believe, just like every year, if it repeats itself, we're at the tail end of that cycle where home prices begin to flatten out. And if we're flattening out, that's going to change the dynamics. And wherever we're in flux, whenever we're in flux, we tend to have this market confusion. Buyers and sellers don't know what's happening. And you, as the agent, have a very decisive, very pivotal role in this process. So we wanted to cover a couple of topics today. One is multiple offers. We're still at the tail end of that. And what happens in a seller's market when there's multiple offers? If you represent the buyer, we're going to talk about that. We also want to talk about seller expectations at this time of the market. And then we just kind of want to generally talk about like the frustrations that come in this time of market, because our goal at the end of today is to help you refocus and to get you back on track.
Yeah. Yeah.
We've really,
And
yeah,
all good things. And you said it. We were talking about before we got on on air to talk about this. Really, what suggests this is what we need to discuss is our mindset around this whole thing and putting all of these into the same category of when it's tough, if I'm working and we were talking about us and both of us after eons and eons of years in the business, both having buyers that are 1000% qualified, ready to go in any market, just not having success being up against 30, 40 offers yet. We'll get there. We'll get there with both of them. And just sharing a little of the frustration, and the reason why we're talking about it is so we can refocus our mindset, not just be the whining and complaining group, but being solution minded. And we know if we stay there in whining and complaining, and it's the reality of the market. So we caught ourselves before we went too deep into the crud that conversation could be. And we wanted to talk to you about it. How do we keep the refocus or the mindset proper when things are not always rainbows and unicorns and going according to plan? One of which is the realization of, oh, this is the new market. If you haven't caught on by now, welcome to it. The new market, the resurgence of 20, 30, 40 offers on just about anything. We better get our mind right so we can not only help ourselves, but our clients.
yeah. I've been kind of overwhelmed in some regard because I've got a number of listings. We've got so many buyers that are calling, reviewing multiple offers on many of our properties, and yet one of them has been in escrow twice and has fallen out.
Hmm.
Just the nature of today's market. And one of the jobs that we have as realtors is to recenter, because it's easy to say, well, it's just too hard right now, I'm going to throw in the towel. But if we reframe our mindset, if we reframe what we're going through right now as the normal, and this is what I had to come to a conclusion. I am grateful that I'm overwhelmed right now, because last year at this time, I was not, which means that income is down because we have fewer clients and fewer phone calls. I mean, I felt like I could have taken half of the year off last year and not lost out on anything. But this year, coming into the beginning of 2024, man, it's been crazy busy for me. And so right now I'm looking at my book of business, and yes, I'm overwhelmed, but we wanted to come to you today and say, look, you have to reset your thinking. Be grateful that we have multiple offers. Be grateful that we have sellers that want to sell. Be grateful, because if we approach this with an attitude of thanksgiving and gratefulness, we are going to get much further. If we come into it, and it's so easy because I've done this, if we come into it thinking, man, it's so hard. Man, I got to call that person back. Oh no, I have to tell them again. Didn't they hear me the first time? Like if we go through life like that right now, you're going to end up out of the business, because those that adjust their thinking and adjust to the new normal and embrace it and be like, yes, this is where I'm going to win. Yes, this is where I'm going to stand out. Yes, this is where I'm going to go the distance. You will outpace your competition, and buyers and sellers will know that. And so we want you to be that guy or that gal today. So, Don, you are in a situation with multiple offers, and you read a headline or an article about, some show or some class that's available. Right now, buyers buying are usually up against multiple offers. So let's talk about that. How do you get an offer accepted? You've written hundreds of offers, so have I. We generally think we're pretty good at getting offers accepted.
Yeah,
Walk me through
I think we can go through the checklist, Aaron, and
that.
we can talk about that definitely. I'm going to totally do a reframe with you, though. I don't know if that's the question right now about how we do, I mean, the highest price and best terms and
Yeah.
get as close as you can to the listing agent and find out as much of the information as what the seller needs and wants right now is possible. And all those things are the same. But I want to go back to the reframe of our mindset to be able to keep going and help our clients when things aren't going well. I want to bring something up and I want to ask you, because we did say this is a perfect case study walking into this conversation of you being in the mindset of, or me being in the mindset of, man, they're not getting accepted. Now, what do we do? So before the what to do on the offer, ask yourself these three questions, Aaron. How's your attitude? How's your approach? And how are your expectations for what you're doing right now going? The
Mm,
great coach, Mike Ferry, back in the day,
mm,
asked these questions
mm,
while we were prospecting, while we were in the middle of our day, every hour on the hour. Check in with yourself and ask yourself these three questions. And I think right now, more than ever, we've got to be checking in. And yes, let's talk strategy about how to get offers accepted, but how attitude, approach, expectation. How's your attitude about what's going on with your buyer right now? I know sometimes we've gone back and forth. My attitude about this particular client we're talking about unfortunately hasn't been the most optimistic because of the situation they're finding themselves in. We were talking about we need to start looking in lower price points because they're getting bid up. I mean, that's the answer, unfortunately. So they have the choice and not get priced out. How's your attitude right now about all of this? Let's keep it real.
Well, it's I find myself being frustrated,
Yeah,
um, because partly because to know that your clients are disappointed,
mm,
and I take that on because some of that
sure.
reflects like, am I not doing a good job? And so if I don't think I'm and so part of me takes ownership of that, like, man, I didn't get their offer accepted, realizing there's so much out of my control, but I take that on, right? And so that becomes frustrating when it happens. The other thing too is we recently had a transaction where we felt like we were given some pretty good assurances from the listing agent, and lo and behold, we didn't get it. And so those are frustrating,
Yeah.
when we're out there with buyers that are, we're doing our thing. I'm calling the agent, I'm texting, I'm asking the terms, I'm writing the best offer we can, uh, based on the input from the listing agent, only to find out that, oh, by the way, we got a better offer and we went that way and never got a counter offer. So that's frustrating
Yeah.
because it puts me it doesn't put me at odds with our buyers, but our buyers begin to wonder, like, is it my agent? Is it us? What's going on? And when we're having, we're seeing 6 or 7 properties, making offers on 2, and we maybe, that kind of thing, and not getting accepted, eventually the relationship can become very tense, and that's not fun.
That's
You know,
right.
we
That's
find
right.
ourselves in that place in this kind of market. And I have to reframe myself and remind myself that the buyer's needs are of utmost highest value. And I have to stick with it. I've got to reframe my thinking. I got to go back to the drawing board, and I just have to keep fighting for them.
Yeah.
At the same time, I have to continue to coach the client.
And communicate, right? We were
Yeah.
talking about that this morning in our team meeting.
Yeah.
We've got to live up to that core value and communicate. I know it's frustrating. Let's talk about the other 34 buyers that were involved also in this one that didn't get it. It's
Yeah.
not just
Yeah.
you. That's no excuse. That's just the reality of the
Yeah.
supply and demand situation we find ourselves right in. Let's get together and figure out what adjustments we can make in our offer to be the best out of 10, 20, 30 offers, and whether
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
shifting price or getting a co-signer or every situation is different. I don't know if there's one size. I know better. There's not one size fits all
Yeah.
to have the best possible scenario because every seller is looking for something different.
Yeah.
Along with price, right? Price is
Right.
great. Have
Right.
the highest price you can possibly have. That
Yeah.
never hurts.
Right.
But there's a lot more involved in an offer, as we all know, than just the price.
Yeah.
Right. So I think massive communication with your clients is paramount
Mm-hmm.
in every occasion, especially today with all the noise around real estate and the settlement and all of that anyways, but especially when we find ourselves in a market. Aaron, I was talking with a client yesterday in Missouri, and sometimes he's the only offer that shows up on property for 3 to 6 months. That gives the buyer a different negotiating strategy and power than what we're talking about right now. So all of this is market dependent, guys. We know
Yeah.
this. Please
Yeah.
understand this, and we don't mean to dwell,
Yeah.
but we're going through this right now, and we've got to call each other on it, call ourselves on it, and make sure our attitude is not staying in that of frustration because
Mm-hmm.
the client is allowed to feel any way they want.
Sure.
Our job is to stay on top of solving the problem.
Mm-hmm.
That's our job here. And if we find our attitude, and this is me checking in with me, you, and please do the same for yourselves. I that's not serving the client at the highest level possible. I need to shift. And the only way to do that is by my personal thinking of what is the problem to be solved? How else can we go about it? How can we communicate? I can't do it all by myself. It's my team, it's communication and collaboration with the client
Mm-hmm.
themselves. We
Mm-hmm.
must be in constant communication. I
Mm-hmm.
think it's Sharon who says greatness doesn't happen in isolation,
It's
right?
true.
I don't think solutions necessarily always come in isolation. We can brainstorm and journal ourselves. We talk about that all the time and come to some solutions, but things like this need to be collaborated, especially when they're not just for us. Our clients' needs need to come first, which come into then approach the communication. That's not easy for everybody. Right. Let's talk about that. What's your approach in
Mhm,
communication with clients?
mhm,
Right. You've had the conversation about your attitude with yourself. You've given yourself the attitude adjustment needed. You've given yourself the pep talk. You've pulled yourself up, whatever that is. What's your approach with clients in that situation to right the ship? We're still moving forward. We still got this. I'm still your guy.
mhm.
What's your approach in that situation today?
My approach is A, pick up the phone, have a conversation. If you need
I'm
to,
sorry, pick up the what?
phone. Pick
Okay.
up the phone, have a conversation.
Yes.
And then also, if need be, go meet in person. Body language says a whole lot and can recover a widening gap between you and your client, so to speak. Sometimes you have to have tough conversations in person, but make the phone call, set up the meeting, and then also when you're texting, recognize that texting is only 7% of communication. The text you write is communicating only 7% of what you're trying to convey. And so I don't text huge, long, communication email. I don't draft emails and send them via text. I mean, if it's that long, I'm typically going to pick up the phone. And if you have bad news, somebody's just got to break it to them. We had a deal fall out, and I didn't come up and say, "Hey, how you doing?" I says, "Hey guys, I got bad news. Like your house fell out of escrow." That was my greeting to them. I mean, it was a bad but I've learned to rip the Band-Aid off, right? I don't want to sugarcoat anything. They're not hiring a babysitter. I'm not a babysitter. I am a professional. Bad
That's right.
news is what we deliver sometimes.
Sometimes.
So, yeah. And so the communication is just, you're going to have to go above and beyond.
Definitely.
Sometimes you have to re-communicate the same thing.
And hit it right between the eyes. You can't dilly dally. You can't fluff it up. You need to meet it right where it is and not sugarcoat that kind of news. Right?
Yeah.
Go right there. And I want to add to that, and then have a solution
Yeah.
or two or three options to provide, not just a dead end.
Right.
Right. I think that's really important. Something we share with our agents around here at our office
Impact
all
Realty
the.
Group.
I'm sorry. Where do we work?
Impact Realty Group at
Impact
Real.
Realty Group. Thank you. We have a couple logos now, so
Something like
sometimes
that.
I just can't pull it all together. Impact Realty Group, powered by Real. Um, what do we tell our agents all the time? That communication solves all problems. You've got to be in communication with our clients about it, and if we're not, we're going to stack trouble on top of trouble. So the more we can get in and have that conversation, the better. uh,
Yeah.
I'd say, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
So that's approach. um how about expectations?
Oh,
Oh,
expectations.
if you guys didn't see what I just saw, I hope you heard it. That was great.
Oh man, expectations in a market right now. Again, we're arriving at that plateau. And if you've ever gone over a speed bump really fast in a car, you kind of get that feeling in your stomach, like I just went over the hump there. That's what your clients are feeling. That's what you're feeling right now. It's just that adjustment period. And so expectations are hard if you don't know what's coming.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm going to talk about it twice. One is with my sellers. I have to tell my sellers that the last 4 months are not going to be a repeat of the next 4 months. Coming out of this fierce competitive pricing, lots of offers. We see the house that sold, a month ago, sold for 50,000 more than the one that sold for 2 months ago in our market. That's not uncommon, but that's not going to happen right now as we head into summer. Um, I have to right size their expectations, which then puts them and me on the same page. And frankly, if you're working with a potential seller and they still see the market trajectory as just skyrocketing for the rest of the year, you may want to reconsider working with that seller because you're going to be at odds when you come to them and say, "Hey, I need a price reduction because I told." Um, so the working with sellers and that expectation right now is to say, hey, we're not going to see the same fever approach to the market as when
Yeah,
we go into May and June. We're just not. Um, and then with your buyers, they need hope to hold on because right now they've probably been beaten out if they've been making offers since April or March even. They've probably been beaten out 5, 6, 7 times, and their time is coming. It's just around the corner. And working with a buyer, you have to future pace them. Both of these situations, I have to future pace a client. And when I say future pace, I need to walk them through the future and say, hey guys, we're going to make 5, 6, 7, maybe even 10 offers over the next 5, 6 weeks on homes. I'm going to hear back from some. I'm not going to hear from others. I'm going to do my best to communicate, but I can't hunt down every agent to give me an answer because they just don't do that. And so I got to tell you, this is what's gonna look like. So that when that happens, you're not the bad guy. I'm not the bad guy. I already told him what's gonna happen. Now I can remind him that it's happening, and I can say, hold on, hope is coming. You know,
that's right. That's right.
um,
Setting those expectations,
yeah,
I mean, from the beginning, just allow you to do so many more things and set the stage for right siding the communication and
yeah,
not having the why aren't you doing your job, Aaron?
right, right,
Right
yeah,
conversation when you've already set the stage as to this is how this goes, this is what to expect.
yeah,
Yeah, you
it,
know what I was just thinking. You were talking about sellers and buyers' expectations, and going back to approach. We do talk about communication, but that's not what I was thinking. This is what happens next.
mm,
As we're talking to our clients and we are communicating everything and we here's the problem, we're out of escrow, here's the solutions or uh directions we're going. We have 5 backup offers, we have 7 voicemails. We're getting back to everybody to see if their buyers are still interested. We're back on the MLS. We have a mega open house planned for Sunday and whatever that is, explaining what's next. We
mm,
never leave any situation wondering what the next steps are, what I should be doing, what you're going to be doing for me if I'm the seller. I know when we're going to be talking next, if it's the regular Friday of us touching base or tomorrow because we can expect the offer to come in or whatever the situation
yeah,
is. So that was with a approach expectations. I love the buyer and seller expectations, talking to them up front. That's what the consults are for. That's what the weekly, if not more,
yeah,
touches are for. That's what answering all their questions are for. Then there's our expectations, going back to what we can do for our mindset. We're talking about our attitude matching
yeah,
theirs, but being the light, being the solution, being not
mhm,
another
mhm,
problem in the process,
mhm.
the approach and the communication around that, expectations of buyer and seller. What about your expectations? What are your expectations for you to be able to serve your clients at the highest level in a market like this?
I'll answer that question in a second, but I want people listening. Go back and re-listen to what Don just said. It is here's what happens next. If there's anything that has helped me and our agents here at the Impact Realty Group stay on track and in coordination with our client, it is telling them, here's what's happening next. In fact, when I was getting our lunch before this podcast, because we share the same office, I was following up with a probate administrator, and she's probating the estate of her sister who's young and passed away, like, in a terrible car accident. And it's hard for her right now. But before I got off the phone, I said, here's what happens next. And I did that, and I do it now
Yeah,
instinctively
yeah,
when I can, but
that's great.
you need to add that to your conversation because it gives them, it frees them up for the ability to ask if they don't understand, but also it tells them that you're the expert. You're leading them.
That's right.
Here's what happens next. And I told them we're gonna open escrow. We're gonna submit the paperwork to the probate, attorney, and we're also gonna send it to the lender because we want to make sure some things happen over there. She's like, oh, okay. And I'm like, it's hard, isn't it? She's like, oh, it's a terrible season. I'm like, I get it. We're gonna take care of the next steps. We're gonna move forward together. Thank you, Aaron. Those are the kind of conversations we have to have that are not real estate.
Yeah.
It's counseling 101,
But
you
those
know?
reassurances
Yeah,
go a long way when
yeah,
you actually
yeah,
understand and
yeah,
empathize with your client for the
yeah.
situation they find themselves in. That's good. That's good.
You know, because of this transition, my expectations, um, they've been pretty raw and interesting in this moment right now because I'm having conversations I haven't had to have in 30 years.
Hmm.
You know, with this NAR settlement that has now been, as of today that we're recording this, preliminarily approved by the judge. You know, it's bringing into the whole conversation about offers and about selling, about our compensation and how we get paid and what's going to happen. And is my offer not getting accepted because you're asking for a paycheck, kind of a thing. Those are conversations we never had to have.
Yeah.
And so I'm being faced with the first time in literally over 20 years doing this with new conversations that I am unprepared for when it comes to the scripts. Like I don't have the memorized script.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm struggling and I'm trying to figure it out with the rest of you. And we just have to be that real with the client as well.
Yeah.
I've had to say that. Look, this is a changing time. These are dynamics. I want you to ask me questions. I'm not offended. Like that was my expectation. You're going to have new questions that I've never had to answer. So I'm not going to be offended when you ask them.
Yeah.
So that is an expectation that I've had to adjust to, is like being okay with all of these questions and scenarios I've never had to. It's frustrating not knowing the answer for being a broker for 20 years. You feel like you should have all the answers,
Yeah.
um, but I don't. And so understanding it and being okay with that helps me to live a much better life.
Yeah.
Um,
It's hard to get there, but it does help a tremendous amount. And I want to make sure everybody got that, Aaron. After 20 plus years, same. I think I'm in almost 30 years of being in the business. It's new, but this is proof that it's okay if we don't have all of the answers. A little vulnerability goes a long way.
yeah.
Please don't break down and cry about the NAR settlement. We'll be okay, guys. That's not what I'm saying. However, not being confident, knowing your market, knowing exactly how to sell this house, having the plan, the team, the structure to do it all. That's our job. It's our jam. Go deliver that with passion and purpose. This side, this is how it is now. This is how it looks like it's going to be. These are the three pieces that we really are focused on here. And how it affects you is
Yeah.
you still want to get to Florida by June, right? And let's get right into what really matters. And hearing Aaron say that we are thrust in the middle of the conversation here about our compensation, we've never wanted to be the focus. It's about the client. So we, with all of this, have to find the right solutions, have to role play and practice and screw it up and get it right and figure it out through the clumsiness of the words together
Mhm.
and not pretend like it's all perfect right now
Yeah.
because it's not, and it's a little messy, but we have a plan of attack and we're going to figure it out along the way. And I think
Yeah.
that's what you're saying. All of our clients need to hear this
Yeah.
from the authority of us, not CNN, not Fox, not Uncle Bob, because problems are really occurring because of the lack of education. I think that's where we can come in handy, get through the noise and get to how it affects our clients, right?
Yeah.
That's all that really matters.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good.
You know, and just taking a deep breath and
Mm,
you know, I've been waking up real early the last couple of days and just for me reading the Bible and just journaling and just, you know, not diving into social media or to, you know, emails right away and just giving my brain and my soul a chance to just be in stillness, you know, and find that still place. That's very much needed in
yeah.
times like this.
Yeah.
So,
Very much.
yeah, so
Now
much.
we
So,
talk a lot about the morning time, the journal and the
yeah.
devotion time, super important. And now more than ever, going back to how do we protect our mindset, right?
Yeah.
Checking in with our attitude, approach, expectations. That can open up the conversation, right? Just like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But really, I don't think any of us need
Yeah.
another guru or coach or any one of
Yeah.
us right now, as long as we're spending the time in ourselves and really thinking through things, not reacting,
Hmm.
but responding
Hmm.
accordingly and doing our due
Yeah.
diligence and learning what we need to learn and being able to educate and communicate with those that like, love, know, and trust us, right? And us, them. I think
Hmm.
that's super important right now, and we can't do that. Whether you're a late night person or an early morning person or a let's put 2 hours right in the middle of the week person to do it. If we're not right now, I think we're going to get knocked around a little bit, not paying attention. We don't need to obsess, but we do need to be paying attention, learning and growing, and spending some of that personal time on us right now. That'll definitely help when things go sideways a little bit
Yeah.
next time with an offer.
Yeah. And we do that by, reading and listening to things that are going to help encourage us.
Yes.
Uh, hey, newsflash, the 5 o'clock news is not where you should be getting your inspiration from. It's just,
Yes.
you'll be down in the dumps. But go to people that, can help you and fix your stinking thinking so that you can move in the right direction.
100%. And we'll save all those jewels for another episode here
Yeah.
soon.
Yeah.
If you need any resources, reach out and let us know for your mindset and that morning routine.
Yeah.
But yeah, pull out a journal, start writing what you're grateful for and the goals that you have for yourself, and start there
Yeah.
in your conversation with yourself and God, and see what amazing things come from just that one move.
Right.
Just that one move. There's a
Yeah.
lot more behind it, but
Yeah.
that and a 20-minute walk around the block or on the treadmill will change your life.
Yeah, for
That's
sure.
for sure.
And if you can get out in nature, I mean, I'm going to the beach later today, actually, just to
Nice.
just to go hang out, right? Because that's gonna help me reset and just refocus, and
That's
it's
the spot.
fantastic. I
That's
love it,
right. That's it. Well,
So,
hey, everybody, thank you for joining us. There's so much more we could go here. More than anything, we wanted to give you some tips, some tricks, some ideas, some thoughts to put to work today for you if you are in need of a refocus, right? And all of this goes in conjunction with your goals and your dreams and your plans. So, in closing, let me just be the one to ask, when was the last time you looked at your business plan? When
when,
was the last time you compared your 3.5, 4 months of progress to the plans that you laid out in October, November, December, or January? How are you doing? How are you doing with your production? How are you doing with your conversations? How are you doing on that appointment uh, challenge that you set for yourself? And where else do you need to reset, refocus, and re-energize some of your time
yes,
towards your business plan? We did a episode I did an episode on calendar and business plan months ago, and it was just reminded of me this morning of, man, our business plan should show up everywhere in our calendar. Does your calendar represent your business plan well? Are you doing the things that you need to get to your goal, right? Um, we're here for you. Any kind of support you need, please reach out. Thank you for your attention. Thank you for your support. We are here for you. Aaron, as always, my man, thank you for spending some time together.
hey, it's been a pleasure with you, Don. And if you are watching this or listening to this, we just want to encourage you to like and subscribe to our channel. And if you'd like to sign up for early alerts and different events that we're putting together here in Southern California, we want you to go to our Instagram handles and make sure you follow us so that you can keep up to date. And then if you'd like to get personal communication, please send us a direct message. But comment, like, share. If you found this helpful, we want to hear back from you because we're here as a service to the greater real estate community because we want to all grow together. So God bless you. Thanks for listening, and we'll hear you next. What I should say. We'll talk to you next time.
We'll talk to you next time. Until next time,
Until
everyone,
next
be
time.
great. Take
God
care.
bless you all.